The Mongol army was unstoppable, unbeatable, and invincible. For 40 years, they crushed every enemy across 2 continents. But on September 3rd, 1260 slave soldiers used a secret trick, and the impossible happened. The Mongols were destroyed forever. This is that story. In 1260, the Mongol Empire stretched from Korea to Eastern Europe. Under Genghis Khan and his heirs, they conquered most of Asia. No army had ever stopped their advance in open battle. Cities that resisted were utterly destroyed as brutal warnings. In 1258, Hulagu Khan, grandson of Genghis, laid siege to Baghdad. The great city had stood for 500 years as Islam's jewel. In just 1 week, Hulagu's army shattered the walls and stormed inside. The Caliph was executed, ending centuries of Islamic leadership. Baghdad's legendary libraries, holding irreplaceable knowledge, were burned. The Tigris River ran black with ink from destroyed manuscripts. Then it ran red with blood from the siege. With Baghdad in ashes, Hulagu turned westward toward Syria. On January 1260, his army stormed and captured Aleppo. In March, Damascus surrendered without resistance. Gates opened in fear. The Mongol army advanced into Palestine, taking Nablus and Gaza. Egypt now stood exposed, the last major Islamic power remaining. In Cairo, Sultan Qutuz of the Mamluk Sultanate faced a crisis. The Mamluks were former slave soldiers who had seized power. Captured as boys, they were trained as elite cavalry warriors. Hulagu sent envoys to Cairo with a brutal ultimatum letter. The message was clear: surrender immediately or face Baghdad's fate. Qutuz made a shocking decision that would change history. He ordered the Mongol envoys seized and publicly executed. Their severed heads were displayed on Cairo's Bab Zuela Gate. But Qutuz had calculated something his advisors didn't know. In 1259, the great Khan Möngke had died in China. Mongol law required all princes to attend the succession assembly. Hulagu had to withdraw most of his massive army eastward. He left behind only 10 to 12,000 troops. The odds had suddenly shifted from impossible to daunting. Qutuz formed an alliance with rival General Baybars. Together they assembled the Mamluk army of 20,000 warriors. The Mamluks marched north through Crusader-controlled territory. The Crusaders, recognizing the Mongol threat, allowed them passage. Baybars suggested the Valley of Ain Jalut as the battlefield. The name meant Spring of Goliath in Arabic. The valley offered hills for concealment and tactical advantage. General Kitbuka gathered his Mongol forces and decided to fight. The Mongol reputation for invincibility had never failed before. The 2 armies converged on Ain Jalut on the 3rd of September 1260. Baybars proposed using the Mongols' own tactic against them. The feigned retreat had won Mongol victories for decades. Now Baybars would use this trick against its masters. He positioned the main Mamluk forces hidden in surrounding hills. The rising sun positioned behind the Mamluks created a tactical advantage. Baybars took a small vanguard onto the valley floor as bait. Mongol scouts spotted them and reported to General Kibuka. Baybars' vanguard began provoking attacks, then retreating quickly. This harassment continued for hours through the hot morning. The Mongol horses grew tired from constant pursuit. Then Baybars gave the signal, and his vanguard fled. The Mongols saw exactly what they expected, a beaten enemy. Kitbuka ordered pursuit, and the Mongol army charged forward. The chase brought them precisely where Baybars wanted them. Deep in the valley, exhausted, their ranks spread out. At that moment, Sultan Qutuz raised his arm and dropped it. The main Mamluk forces emerged from the hills on all sides. Thousands of cavalry charged down simultaneously from concealment. The Mongols found themselves completely surrounded in the valley. Mamluk heavy cavalry crashed into them from every direction. The Mamluks employed early gunpowder weapons called midfa. These hand cannons produced massive explosions and smoke. The noise and fire terrified the Mongol horses completely. Sultan Qutuz led from the front, charging into fierce fighting. He threw off his helmet so warriors could see his face. The Syrian auxiliaries defected to the Mamluk side mid-battle. The Mongol army was trapped, unable to use mobile tactics. Throughout the afternoon, the Mamluks systematically destroyed them. General Kitbuka fought courageously, but eventually fell in battle. With their commander dead, survivors attempted to flee toward Baisan. The Mamluks pursued relentlessly, giving no quarter. At Baisan, the remnants made one final stand and were crushed. The Mamluks had accomplished what seemed impossible. For the first time in decades, the Mongols were permanently stopped. News of the victory spread rapidly across the Muslim world. Sultan Qutuz was celebrated as the hero who saved Islam. But Qutuz's triumph was tragically short-lived. On the journey to Cairo, General Baybars assassinated him. Baybars seized power and ruled Egypt for 17 years. Hulagu Khan attempted to return but was blocked by conflicts. The Battle of Ain Jalut altered world history forever. Had Egypt fallen, the Mongols could have surrounded Europe. Instead, the Mamluk victory preserved Islamic civilization. The feigned retreat, used against its masters, proved devastating. A single day's battle determined the fate of empires. For the first time in decades, history remembered the day slave soldiers defeated an empire.